All right, what is going on, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to the KC Sports Report. As always, I'm your host, Michael Darcy, and today I'm going to break down if the Chiefs need any other additional help at defensive end. So before we get into this video, I'd like to say that I very much appreciate and I thank you all for getting me to 6K subs. That's such a big goal, and that is such an insane number. But I got bigger goals in my mind. I think that we can hit 10K by the end of the year. So if you do like what I do around here and want to subscribe, support the movement and subscribe to KC Sports Report, and I would definitely appreciate that. So with that being said, let's get into the video. Now, a lot of people think that the Chiefs are weak at defensive end. To be quite honest with you, I don't really see it personally. I think that we got plenty of depth. Now, I understand that we don't necessarily have that premier pass rusher on the outside. A lot of people would argue that Frank Clark just isn't it, and I tend to agree with those people. But the Chiefs have enough at defensive end, in my opinion. But there are a few options on the market that the Chiefs might consider taking a look at that I would actually be okay with them signing. The first option is Justin Houston, the former Chief. We all know him. We all love him. He left in 2018 after getting cut. In 2019, he played with the Colts, and in 2020, he also played with the Colts. And he was a good pass rusher. Honestly, the only reason that we really cut him is we tried to restructure his contract, but unfortunately, he didn't want to do that, so we just had to release him. But with the Colts, he was actually pretty good. In his 2 years in Indianapolis, he had 19 sacks. He had 11 in his first year in 2019 and 8 last year. But if you want to compare Frank Clark and Justin Houston, their stats are pretty comparable. And in fact, Justin Houston has had a better past 2 years than Frank Clark. So I would definitely be all for bringing back Justin Houston. I think he's got unfinished business. I would love to see him get a ring. And he's kind of the only player from that previous generation of Chiefs players like the Eric Berrys and the Derek Johnsons that could actually come back and be productive and help this team win a championship. So I would love to bring back Justin Houston. I think that he's going to be a cheap player. The market is very good right now for defensive ends. You can pick him up for practically nothing. And nobody else has really taken that much of a look at him. So, in my opinion, you go out and you bring back Justin Houston just for old time's sake. And I think that he's a very good rotational defensive end piece. The next player is Melvin Ingram. We're all aware of Melvin Ingram. He actually came to not try out, but he had a physical with the Chiefs earlier this offseason. They met, and they didn't end up coming to an agreement, which kind of surprised me. I thought that, the Chiefs might take somebody, but unfortunately, that didn't end up working out, and Melvin Ingram is still on the market. But, you know, Melvin Ingram does have a lot of red flags. Last year, he only played 7 games with a knee injury, and he didn't record a single sack, which was actually the first time in his career that actually happened. So he didn't have a good last year, but I think that he could have a very good 2021. Coming off of that injury, he's going to be healthy, and he could also be a good rotational piece. Now, both of these guys in Justin Houston and Melvin Ingram, they could not be stars. But this Chiefs defensive line, and specifically the end group, they don't need stars because we have enough. And going off of that, let me tell you what we have at defensive end. We got Frank Clark, obviously. If he just steps up, if Frank Clark could be half of what we are paying him to be, he'd be a pretty damn good defensive end. So you got Frank Clark on one side, Taco Charlton, who came over with the Chiefs last year. He was pretty solid before he got injured. I like that addition a lot. But Taco Charlton's a rotational guy, so again, don't expect a star. You got Mike Dana, you drafted him in the 5th round last year. Joshua Kando, the new addition, they drafted him in the 4th round this year. So the Chiefs have a couple guys in Mike Dana and Joshua Kando that, again, they're rotational guys. They're still developing at the national level, and they're still going to need a little bit more time, but I think that if you did have to roll into the season with Frank Clark, Taco Charlton, Mike Dana, and Joshua Kando, you'd be fine. But also getting into the pass rush, because this video is kind of about the ends, but at the same time, the pass rush is what majority of concerns are. So, in my opinion, our pass rush is actually going to be fine, and part of that is because you got a guy this offseason by the name of Jarran Reed. Now, I'm probably going to talk about this in a separate video because I can't stray too far off the initial topic, but Jarran Reed is going to be such a big playmaker this year for this defense. He's a nose tackle, an interior defensive lineman. I think that they're going to line him up there, and it's going to be able to spread out the entire line. Frank Clark and Jarran Reed did great things in Seattle in 2018, both of which had career years. And I think that If you have Jarron Reed in the middle, you could put Chris Jones out wide. Make it so it's harder to double team Chris Jones. Frank Clark is going to have less pressure on him, and it's going to open up the entire defensive line. So you don't necessarily need another edge because you brought in Jarron Reed to be another addition and another pass rusher that can wreak havoc on the quarterback. And that's really all this team needed. So in my opinion, there's a few guys on the market that maybe you take a look at, but I would also argue that if the Chiefs were going to bring in Justin Houston or Melvin Ingram, they wouldn't have drafted Joshua Kando. So I do think the Chiefs are confident with their depth at defensive end. You did lose Tano Passanio this offseason, same with Alex Okafor, but in my opinion, the Chiefs do have enough at defensive end, but you could always use more. Thank you for watching this video. If you guys enjoyed it, hit that like button, comment, and subscribe for more of the best Chiefs content on YouTube. You can also follow us on Instagram for more of the latest updates on future videos, as well as instant Chiefs news right after it happens. You can also support the channel via the Patreon, as well as buying merchandise from the KC Sports Report store on Teespring. The links to all of those websites will be in the description. You just listened to the KC Sports Report, presented by Michael Darcy.